All right, welcome everybody. Thank you all for showing up tonight. Um, Tonight we're going to be talking about bringing our practice into the world. And before we start, let's just do a little simple grounding meditation. Hopefully the weather works with me here. It's starting to get a little windy, overcast. So let's just gently close our eyes. And I just want you to become aware of the sensations in the body right now. Just feel the pressure of your body sitting. And maybe if you feel any tension, see if you can release it or be with it. We're just going to take a breath or two. It's really deep, full breath. Just really drop into feeling right now. Feeling the sensations. I invite you to go ahead and open your eyes, but try to keep that same state of mind. The world comes rushing in right now. Try to keep some of the attention in your body and see if that doesn't help pay attention and help keep us a little focused. So, I wanted to open it up now. If anybody has any questions on how their practice is going from the lessons previous, if there's anything with your routine or any self-judgments, or are you able to pull in heart practices, anything, whatever's present for you. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to mute yourself and ask.
Chris.
Hey, Chris, it's Josh. Go ahead.
Sorry. This is Sophie here. I was wondering, I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but I know that I'm struggling to keep up with my practice when my routine gets disrupted. I know attaching to something that doesn't stick is what keeps me going when I'm in my routine, but when that goes away, I'm finding it difficult to keep up with it. Yeah, so I jumped down to Seattle earlier this week, was sleeping in a parking lot and missed it, and then broke the streak. And I got some business travel coming up, and I'm wondering, how do you handle that? Do you have any advice for when the thing that doesn't stick, or the thing that's doesn't move, moves?
Yeah, right. That's a great question. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that tonight. I try not to trip out over it. I used to trip out over it in the beginning, but going after a decade of doing it, not so concerned with the misses as I am with just getting back up to bat. And that means, if you could meditate later in the day, that's cool. But it's, part of what we're going to talk about today, it's meditation is there to cultivate mindfulness, and mindfulness is there as a tool to facilitate this awakening process. So it's not all about the meditation. That meditation is where we do cultivate and get deep in this capacity of mindfulness. But mindfulness is something that we can pull in, whether we meditated that morning or not. Of course, that's something we want to be doing every morning. And I'll just speak for me. I think sometimes I can get an attitude of like, well, I screwed it all, like, all or nothing, zero sum. And it does not have to be this way. And this is a capacity that, it's new and, a novel thing in your life in the beginning, but it will become second nature. It will become part of your mindset. And then meditation kind of, at least for me, kind of took on a different feel and a different vibe. It was more about the centering and the grounding, and so you'll go through a long relationship, just as you do with everything in your life. It will ebb and flow. So my main encouragement is don't sweat the stuff, because routines and things that don't move, they're there for a reason. That's the 95% of the time, and so I would say just go easy on yourself, and so, but thanks for that question. I hope that was helpful, Sophie.
Yeah, that was really helpful. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Chris, it's Josh.
Okay. Yes, sir. Hey, Josh.
So, hey, so my practice has been going pretty good. But I find when I get past like the 15, 20-minute mark, um, my mind really starts to go in different places. I start to get uncomfortable. I start to think, oh, it's got to be over soon. The bell is going to ring now. The bell is about to ring. And I just kind of get fixated in other places. Do you have any kind of tips for the elongating portion of it to go from kind of that 20 minutes to the 30, 40, 50 hour time?
Sure, sure. Yeah, this is a retreat. It's one of the first things you're going to see different from regular meditation into a retreat. First thing I would say is make sure you're sitting in a comfortable position. You know, for me, my cross leg has to give way to a Burmese type of sitting when I'm going to go over 20 minutes. And of course, we want to make sure our hips are above our knees if we're sitting Indian style cross leg. Wow. I'll say this. For me, in my experience, when I get to that point where I'm usually about to cut off and everything is racing, it's time to move, it's time to move. Like this is maybe part of our physiology or something that has recognized the pattern and it's ready to go. Becoming aware of those thoughts, those sensations, and those, it feels in my experience like a new trap door and a new bottom opens up and a deeper set of relaxation is on the other side of that. So it's almost like every time I would get down to the bottom, I'm like, I can't handle anymore, I can't handle anymore, I can't. Boom, just goes down deeper. If I can sit with it, it's like I enter into a newer level, a deeper level, and part of the antidote for that is to get back to, because we're talking about there's correlating brain states here. Get back to the feeling of feel. The less we're checking in with the left hemisphere about past and future, the less we notice time. That's why when you're really locked in on a good meditation and you're really feeling the body and stuff, man, those 20 minutes go by like 5 or 4 minutes. And you're like, wow, because you're not registering time. You're not in that part of the brain. So, part of the thing is get out of the part of the brain that's registering that and doing all that. And that's, just to double down on feeling. So hope that helps, Josh.
Yeah, that helped a lot. Thank you.
Sure. Go ahead, Blake.
So, Chris, my question is, when do I know when it's time to go when it's time to advance my time? And is there like that of like a time when the diminishing returns occurs? Like when I'm just doing overkill, like 40 minutes is great, 45 minutes is ridiculous. Or I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know when I should push when the boundaries or
yeah.
I mean,
I would stay in the first few months or so. I would stay in that 20 minutes in that sweet spot, and I would come back. I mean, there's arguments to be made either way. I think the overall big picture is that you don't have unrealistic expectations, you don't get burned out, and you don't give up. Is that you can somehow keep this to where your mind isn't resisting it, like you just go for broke. And then the next year you're like, and now, oh God, now we got meditation is one of those I have to's and we're contracting around it. We want to keep it in the I get to. And this is something really cool I've never seen before about my mind and a sense of curiosity around it. But yeah, I don't have, I don't really think there's a general prescription for that. But
We lost him on my end, for what it's worth.
I lost him too, so it must be him.
Yeah, I lost him.
Okay.
Go, Josh, hurry.
Whose trailer is closest to his?
Josh is on property with him.
Oh, okay.
You're back, Chris. Or you're moving at least.
No sound.
We can't hear you, bud.
Good to go.
Can you hear me? Okay, hang on one second.
You're back.
Is the audio back?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. I don't know what happened there. So,
We'll be able to cut it back.
yeah, let me see. Let me check. All right. All right. So let's all find a comfortable position and get ready. Let's go. All right. I invite you to gently put that tongue at the roof of your mouth, gently behind the top teeth so the air's closing out through the nose. And hung as a Christmas tree ornament. And if it helps to use the words such as feel, or you can count on the out breath or the in or the out, just in the beginning, just to help the mind settle down a bit. Just notice everything that's occurring right now. The energy and the momentum of thinking and moving. As we brought all that to a halt, how the mind might still have some momentum. We want to take this focus, this awareness, and we want to pull it into the sensations of the breath and the body. So I'd invite you to feel the pressure of your body making contact with the seat or the cushion. And maybe the flatness of your feet on the floor or the bending of your legs. What's letting you know you have legs? What's making contact? Is it pressure? Is it tingling? And let that become the focus. The way to tie that in is to allow what you're feeling to expand and contract with the breath, kind of like you're breathing into these sensations. Then maybe you can feel the belly expanding or heaviness of your forearms. My favorite is always the tingling in the fingertips. Maybe you can feel the pulling down of the biceps or the shoulders, the heaviness of the arms. Maybe you can feel anything in the shoulders. Maybe there's tension. And if you do find tension here, just see if you can be gentle with it. Just allow it to join the other sensations and be soft. Maybe I'd work your way up to the jaw, the back of the head, the air at the tip of your nose. Just gently expand and contract with the breath. And if the mind's off talking, that's not a problem. That's supposed to happen. Just gently return back to the sensations, to your anchor, and expand and contract with the breath. Notice all that's happening, even in the visual field, even with the eyes closed. Oh, it's not quite dark. There's blotchy colors, maybe movement. Notice the ambient sounds in the room. my voice. Really focus on what it feels like to be in this body and expand and contract. That's the focal point. And the rest is kind of happening in the periphery, so to speak. Don't worry about the thoughts. The thoughts aren't a problem. Just allow them to arise and to pass in their own time. It's the pull into thinking, into the stories, when that occurs, the moment you realize it, just come back, feel these sensations and allow them to expand and contract. As the ambient sounds are happening, notice how you don't choose them. They just appear and disappear in consciousness. See if you can notice that about the sensations as well. They're just appearing, they disappear, and we have to refine them. See if you can notice that about the nature of these thoughts. How they just appear from nowhere. Sometimes really pulling our attention, sometimes hijacking. They disappear. And yet we remain. See if you can notice any kind of feelings or emotions that might be lingering in the body or might arise with some of these thoughts. If they're heavy emotions, notice how everything just takes the shape of that in consciousness. It can really just captivate us if it's a heavy emotion. And that invites you to see the emotions as just patterns of energy, pulling down or tingling, movement, just arising and passing, all at different rates. You get lost in thought, just return. It's not a problem. Silence isn't the goal here. Clear seeing is the goal, noticing the nature of all that's arising and passing. Noticing our stability as awareness. All arises in this awareness. It's here for a certain time and then passes. Let's see if you can start to sense that maybe some of the intensity of thinking is starting to calm a little. Just gently expand and contract with whatever you can sense in the body, whatever you want to use as an anchor in the body. I say anchor because that kind of focuses us there, keeps us grounded there. While the thoughts and sounds and sights, sensations arise and pass in the periphery. In this next part, I want to see if we can just kind of open our hearts a little. If you can remember the sentiments of metta, may I be happy, may I be safe, may I be healthy, may I be at peace. See if you can take those sentiments and yourself. If you have a hard time with them, maybe you can think of a younger version of yourself, a child photo of yourself. Really wish that younger you grows up to be happy, safe, healthy, and at peace. Maybe you could bring to mind somebody, a coworker, somebody rather neutral. Have them in mind. See if you could generate and wish them those feelings of what it really feels like to be happy, what it feels like to be healthy, what it feels like to be at peace, what it feels like to be safe. See if we could generate that out just to the world. We wish that all beings could feel safe. All beings could feel happiness. All beings could be healthy. That all beings could be happy, ultimately really happy. By generating that, see if you can really feel for that. Feel for that expansive feeling of love and your wishes for others to feel that. You have a hard time feeling that. You might remember a time, a really tender moment with a loved one or a pet. I like when I have a memory where I say I love you to a special someone and they said it back. And when I replay that, I can kind of bring forth that emotion. Remember looking in their eyes. I invite you to do that. Really feel that warmth, that love. Let that smile cross your heart. Just gently let it cross your face right now. Just a gentle Buddha smile across your lips. As you do that, see if you can feel the trickle down in the body, the change of emotion from smiling. As you feel those sensations, just breathe into that warmth of love. Really feel it. Feel the vibration of it. Feel it really filling the body on the in breath and exhaling. Just rest in this wide open space, your heart vibrating with love, using the body as an anchor, allowing the thoughts, the sounds, the sensations all to arise and to pass. Just notice if there's any intention or energy arising that's trying to pull you off. Just acknowledge it. Allow it to be there and to pass. Just gently expand and contract. If you get caught up into thinking, that's not a problem. That's what's supposed to happen. It's the moment you realize, return back without judgment. Find that anchor and just focus on the sensation of it. Connect it to the breath and rest wide open, this awareness. The last minute, just resolve to let everything go. Just really turn up the intensity of these sensations as we expand and contract. All right. Thank you all for. Everybody can wiggle around a little. So congratulations, you all did 20 minutes. So hopefully that was all right.
That was great, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Thank you. All right, so let's go. Let's talk about this, bringing our practice into the world. So we were kind of review a little bit, of what our practice is. Over it a bit earlier. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up and think the practice is meditation. Practice is not meditation. Meditation cultivates mindfulness, and mindfulness facilitates this awakening of, whatever. I don't want to use those really loaded terms like awakening or enlightenment. If anything, really, I awaken from being on automatic mode. I awaken to the programming in my life, to these patterns of the way I see the world, and the way I react spontaneously. This thing called mindfulness, this state of mind that I'm able to cultivate, this right hemisphere dominated state. When I activate it, the right hemisphere is also associated with big picture. It's like I have a bigger view on what's up, and it really facilitates that sacred pause where I can choose, and trust me, I can be mindful and choose to do the wrong thing for sure. But at least I get that ability to respond. It's not the automatic reacting, and the words, just don't do that justice. So, yeah, the practical tips. If we go back to the beginning, really it talked about why we needed mindfulness, and the fact, sometimes I just say it, the fact that the science is telling us we're having 6,200 thoughts a day, and I can't remember 1% of them, ought to show you that we're thinking without knowing we're thinking. These like sports commentators in our heads that are just calling the game of our life. They're thoughts that aren't seen as thoughts. And they're instantaneously or can be instantaneously believed and affect the way I feel, the next thoughts. And then unfortunately, it can escape my body. And then it's out in the world, and then it's subject to cause and effect. So bringing my practice into the world looks a whole lot more like what I don't do. It's a whole lot of just not doing so much, so many things that are unskillful. And the things that I do, hopefully it looks like I'm putting a little bit more heart into my life and into my actions and my intentions. The second thing we talked about, and this is, I work with clients every day, well, not every day, but at least 3 or 4 days a week with this. And establishing a routine is, to me, what I've seen practically is, and it may be just the type of clientele I work with, it maybe selects for a certain group of people that lack certain self-discipline skills. But man, getting that routine established is fundamental. I cannot establish that enough and just emphasize that that's really something that has to happen. And if I were to say, it really doesn't matter how good your form is on the bench press if you're not showing up to the gym. Your form can be crap and it will get better, but you've got to show up. And because this works on repetition, this needs to be, as Sophie and I were talking earlier, my main tip is to tie it to something that doesn't move. For me, coffee. I don't meditate without coffee, and I don't do the coffee without meditating. And I do it right when I wake up, the first cup of coffee, not the third or fourth. And I would also say, if you're not able to establish a routine, then the work comes down to what prevents it. Simple as that. Don't give up on the I can't. We want to figure out what it is, and we can work around that. We can work around it through structure and through habit. A lot of people tell me I can't do this. And I'll ask them, well, if you had a flight at 7 a.m. to Hawaii tomorrow, do you think you could do that? Do you think you could set your alarm? They're like, oh, well, of course. And so there's a mental capacity of where we put stuff. And so it's that ability to put it and make it a priority, and just give it a test. Give it 2 months and give it, 2 months, 8 weeks is kind of the gold standard in MBSR for that. Last thing I'll say about that is one of my favorite quotes from my teacher, Ajahn Chah, and part of the Thai forest tradition. And it's just a simple statement. He says, if you have time to breathe, you have time to meditate. It's that simple. It's not a big deal. Sometimes we make a big mental construct out of it and we recoil to it's not that big of a deal. You sit down and work it out. Doesn't have to have all the bells and whistles. So bringing the practice into the world, once we've got it established, we want to take it off the cushion. And a lot of you will have noticed as we start getting a little proficient in it, we start having really beautiful sessions, and they're just wonderful. And we cultivate all this stillness, and we start to have insights. And we're like, wow, I'm established. I can feel some kind of equanimity, some kind of shift internally. There's my thinking and feeling processes, and here's awareness that's aware of it. There seems to be something shifting. I'm not all first person. I'm not my thoughts. I can see them and not be them. Yeah. But then the bell goes off and instantly pick up the phone and next thought. And you'll see once we activate that left hemisphere, the past, future, and thinking and calculating, it all disappears. And so there's a real skill in cultivating and creating mindfulness throughout the day. A lot of different ways to do it, and I don't want to spend too much time, but there's old tips, like one that comes to mind is an old Zen tip, and that's every time they walk through a door, to touch the door frame. And I know it sounds a little OCD, but touching the door frame, just to take a breath and to remember, just take that breath. It interrupts the continuity of mind stream. That's one of my favorite Eckhart Tolle quotes. I'm paraphrasing that. So we could use tips like that, like the doorways. And then the old mindfulness bell, since we don't live in a monastery and we don't have an abbot or monk going out there and ringing the mindfulness bell, there are apps. For a long time, I used Lotus Bud Mindfulness Bell. There's apps that you can get. I think Headspace might have that option, and some others that clients have used, where you can set random times. And all we need is a minute or two. Sometimes it's just a breath or two, and that is sufficient enough to interrupt the mind stream. And whatever method you use, notice it'll probably be going from the sphere of thinking, past, future, calculating, judging, evaluating, telling the story of your life, into feeling, present moment awareness, tactile sensations, opening the heart. That's kind of all we're trying to do. That's the whole deal of feeling the breath. And it only takes a moment or two to make a little bit of an impact. The more, the deeper. And a lot when I'm training people in meditation, I really try to get them aware of noticing the openness of consciousness and noticing the actual sensations of contraction down to thinking, getting incredibly granular and noticing this contracted feeling versus this expansive feeling, so that when we take it off the cushion, we can we can start to identify that. We can identify, and it's sometimes it's easier with our eyes closed because the eyes are connected to about 40% of the brain. They keep us very grounded and in this reality here. So whether eyes open or not, if you can feel for that openness and that contraction, and try to notice as best you can that slide into thinking without knowing we're thinking. That slide is really important, because the ones where we do become identified and we're and you'll notice this in meditation, that we're off into thinking. We don't even notice the slide. We're 2 feet down the rabbit hole before we even realize we were hijacked, and we return. That's not a phenomena of meditation. That's a phenomena of our minds. Meditation is just illustrating what is happening in your mind. You're just closing your eyes and seeing that when the mind detects opportunity or danger, the attention is turned. And then once we realize it, we return back. It's that simple. And remember, thinking's not the problem. It's not the problem. This is not about not thinking. Thinking is what separates us from the other primates. It adds to the fullness of being human. This is about becoming aware of it. It's about a subtle mind state. This is about being conscious and thinking. I would say the issue is thinking without knowing we're thinking, being in the low-level daydream, the automatic mode, the talking to ourselves and worrying and turning into a fit, and we're not even realizing that's happening. And all those thousands of return to the breath, that starts to pay off because we catch. It's just like awareness has been trained to pull right out of it. And that's one of the real beauties of this. Seeing it versus being it. I say that it's that simple. And can I see it versus being it? It's that witness, that witness position versus that identification. That's it. Seeing it versus being it. And the interruption, I wrote this down, the Tolle quote, this, and I'd like to kind of maybe just give an example, because this is where words fail me to express how important it is. If you were to imagine 2 different scenarios where you watched a movie and it was an epic movie that took you on a journey and you completely lost yourself in that movie, completely, the richness of that experience, if that were to be duplicated by a clone of yourself or an identical twin, and that person is starting to watch that same epic movie, and then my happy butt comes walking in there and stops it, turns on the lights and says, "Hey, need any popcorn? You want any Coke or something?" No, stop, turn the lights off and go. I'm like, okay, cool. And I wait some random amount of time, and I just pop back in and say, "Hey, isn't this a great part? Isn't that person cute? Isn't this funny?" I would be interrupting the continuity of that movie right there, and the experience would be drastically different. And there's something about being pulled into it versus coming out and then, going back in. So, that's one of the easier ways I can kind of relate that phenomena, that the more times we can punctuate this just with a breath or two, kind of activates our awareness, our mindfulness. As far as bringing this practice into the world, Jack and Tara teach the 2 wings of mindfulness, wisdom and compassion. I would relate the wisdom more to the clear seeing. And the clear seeing 100% needs the other wing, the heart, the compassion, right? And so we also want to pull in, and we want to do things throughout the day that activate our heart. And those can be things as simple as metta, as simple as, I love chanting and devotional music when I'm driving or doing certain tasks. And not everybody's the same, but there's something about music that just really activates my heart and can really shift the entire, like the day was going this way, and I have 20 minutes, I can pop on a few songs and close my eyes and watch my heart just light up. And the emotional centers, I'm sure, are firing up in my brain. And that influences the rest of the future moments following that. And also seeing others as I see myself. The more I get deeper in this practice, the more I can see others as consciousness themselves that are trapped in a conditioned mind and body that don't understand what's going on. When I can kind of see that on a deeper level, my heart opens for that. But, if I'm seeing them on a level through my eyes of my conditioned mind, my ego, then I find what they're doing coming up short. But, if I can pull back to that position of seeing this person, and it's not the person, it's not consciousness, it's their behavior, and they don't know what they're doing. And that just shifting those mental positions can kind of open my heart and allow me to be a little bit more compassionate, a little bit with people. To practice their faith. Gratitude practices can really open up the heart. And I don't have a ton of time to get into it, but I can tell you, we've covered this before. You really got to feel it, not the story of gratitude, but the experience of it. This love in action, this love process for what is, not what could be or should be. And it really doesn't even need the comparative. It doesn't need to be comparing to people below, because those things, the comparative process breaks down really when you look at it too close. So comparing is a great way maybe to get it generated. Drop the story. Gratitude doesn't need a story. It's a vibe. It's a love vibe. It's another way into the heart. Bringing our practice into the world in 2022 in the United States. You are bringing a practice into a very polarized world, very polarized world. And I would say this is probably one of the best gifts we can give is to bring our practice in the world and not buy into the polarization of putting people in either two camps, because everything, it feels like a lot of conversations these days can be at surface level, and then they're about to drop down into politics. It's like more than I've ever seen it in my 50-something years on the planet. It really gets down, and things seem to be very polarized right now. The ability to bring this practice in and not be identified with the mental positions or political positions or social situations, and to really bring an open heart, which is basically what this practice is doing. Part of bringing our practice into the world is allowing us to engage in, you could call it activism, you could call it your values, you could call it things you want, and that's totally a good thing. That's not a bad. Activism has a kind of a shadow side that people get really twisted up, regardless of what side they're on. The beauty of mindfulness is allowing the freedom and the non-identification, allowing it's okay if people think I'm wrong. It's okay. If I'm not completely identified with this mental position, I can do and say my piece if I feel it needs to be said, and be respectful and loving to the other person, and not have to get into this, arguing over mental positions, which we find a lot these days, especially in this political climate. So mindfulness can, bringing it into the world is something you really can't help but doing, But I would say at this stage, for the people that are just being introduced into mindfulness and meditation to cultivate mindfulness, is to understand this is a frame of mind. This is a mental tool. This is something we're developing, this capacity to see things clearly as they are, our own thoughts, our own emotions, our own biases, and be with them and not have to act, not have to let them escape the body. So let's do a recap on this. So for me, the path is real clear. Most of my suffering comes from me running on automatic mode. Those 6,200 thoughts that I'm not seeing as thoughts. And that's where my suffering comes from. I have unchecked thoughts, rapid fire, that are putting emotions in my body. And if hopefully my training, usually with the contractions of the negativity, wake me up. Those are my mindfulness bell. When that contraction happens, because I'm not used to contracting much these days. When that contraction happens, it's a wake up moment. It's a wake up moment because this is my chance to stop it before it escapes my body. I don't choose my thoughts. I've been doing it 13 years, and I'm sure there's people that have so much better mastery. I know there are over their mind and meditation. At this level, I still don't choose my thoughts, and I don't know that that's possible. They just appear in consciousness. These are neural processes that happen below my conscious awareness line, and up pops thought, up pops thought. So do negative ones come in? Sure. And they come in, and as soon as they're in, it's like their shadow on the stage of awareness is an emotion, and the emotion's there, and another thought is there. And can I take that breath, see it, be with it, make space for it, and not let it escape my body? That's the thing right there. Not letting it escape my body, not through a tone, not through an action, not through a look, not through a smirk, not letting it escape my body. And if I do let something escape my body, I'd rather it be something loving. Because, as we've talked about in prior sessions, once it escapes my body, now it's subject to cause and effect. And when we're talking, thousands of thoughts a day and there's a lot of things escaping my body, and then people react to that. If I can let what escaped body be more loving and more kind, the world is going to reflect that back to me. And words don't do this justice. From somebody like me that lived a crazy life and had people upset, and I was not a good person. I was not decent with my family and all that. My addiction led me into all kinds of horrible behaviors. To have experienced life like that in the way I experience it now is from the gift of mindfulness. And the way the world is it's still the same me in here, but what escapes my body is more loving. And that's the way the world sees Chris now, and they react to that. And I'm telling you, it's like I'm in two different bodies. It's two different lifetimes. And that's the gift that I want to share with everybody. And, and I try to bring into my therapy with clients. So that's kind of a recap on it. We bring our practice into the world. And here's the beautiful part. You're the first benefactor. It's not like you got to do all this work and everybody else starts to benefit. You benefit from it first. You benefit. And then, basically this better world that I want starts here with me. It starts with me. And if everybody could reduce just, their BS by 20% and not let it escape the world, wow, what a crazy place this would be. We would all be achieving what we're looking for, and that's happiness. We're all essentially looking for love and happiness, and if we could do that, and we do it individually, we start individually, and you're adding it to the world. So that's kind of my take on how and why we should bring this practice into the world, and why this is a practice that's worthy of your attention, your time, and your effort. So, yeah, that's it. So feel free to ask any questions if anybody has any questions over that. I have made it through another set of note cards.
Hey, Chris, it's Josh.
Hey, Josh. Yes.
No question, but just wanted to really thank you for this course, these 8 classes, these last 8 weeks. My practice is different than it's ever been, and I feel so solid in it, and I really wanted to thank you for that. And to congratulate you also for doing all of these 8 classes. I know it's been something that you've wanted to do, so I wanted to congratulate you and thank you again.
Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate that. Sweet of you.
Yeah, I want to second that, Chris. This week, I noticed looking forward to the time to sit and found myself like, because I've been doing it in the morning and then again in the evening. And then someplace in the middle of the day, it's like, I get to do this again later. And it becoming actually something to look forward to. And it's just been and I've noticed those weird little kickbacks of like synchronicity or joy, just all of a sudden, boom, 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 from a bunch of directions. And I'm like, yeah, bring it on. This is great. But it's been wonderful. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot. That warms my heart. That's
I want to third that, Chris. These group meetings have been such a change from our one-on-one meetings, and I'm gonna miss them. I hope that one day you start doing them again. But they've been a real eye opener. Just being able to see other people struggling. I don't know, maybe if y'all are all struggling, but I am, and seeing other people who have questions that I want to ask them before me makes me feel more normal and more, I don't know, sometimes you get in your own head and you think that you're the odd man out, and we all have the same problems, and you're just a great teacher, Chris. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Lane. I want to invite everybody, if they, I will probably be doing meetings again, but not as regularly. I kind of just want to judge and see if people are into it, then I'll definitely do it. And the way to know that is I do have a meeting, a text thread, and the number, if anybody wants to get a pin, if you want to be notified of upcoming meetings whenever we do them, you could, of course.
Is that the same text thread that we're on now?
Yes, the 855. Okay. Yes, if you're getting text messages, you're already on it. So that's it's 855-862-0173. Yeah, so I have to do some teacher training stuff, and so the next week or two I will definitely not be doing any meetings. But if there's interest in it, we used to do these weekly for about a year and a half, and then when I started adventuring across the country, I was like, I'm having too much fun to stop and do this. So, but now that I'm a year into it, I'm open. If the universe wants to do it, then I'll walk through that door. So, if y'all are interested, for sure, I'll do it. So. All right. If anybody doesn't have any questions, are we good to wrap it up? Can people give me a thumbs up? We're good. All right. Well, thank you all so much. And thank you all that have been showing up on a regular basis. It really means a lot to me, and I truly appreciate it. Yes. So thank you so much. And we'll talk soon. I'm sure this won't be the last.
Chris.
So. All right.
Appreciate it, bud.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Yeah.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you, Blake.